Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to show you how to do a stream on Twitch using just a one monitor setup. So here I have my setup in front of me. I have the 27-inch Asus monitor, I have my Logitech speakers, I have my Logitech C615 webcam, I have a HDMI splitter that is for when I'm using the consoles to stream, and I'm using the Samsung Go mic. For headphone monitoring, I'm just using simple $20 earbud headphones, and I've got a little piece of foam here underneath my keyboard, a little piece of foam underneath my microphone, and a little piece underneath the webcam. That's so that if I'm banging any of the table, or you won't pick it up yourself, but your voice might resonate a little bit and cause like micro vibrations, which will be picked up by the microphone, so it just alleviates any of those problems. So with that, I'm going to show you the layout that I've got. The way that I have my monitors set up is like this. I'm just loading the game for reference, but as you can see, what I have is I have the game set to windowed mode. I have my OBS, which I use to stream, down in the bottom left hand corner so that I can see the scene that I'm in, change all the options down here, monitor my microphone, monitor the game audio, as well as when you're live, the quality of the stream and whether you're having any drop frames. Next to this, I have my Twitch stream, my own Twitch stream, where I'm watching to see whether it's coming through okay, making sure that everything's alright, and keeping an eye obviously on what's going on. On the right hand side then, I have the Twitch chat, which I just, in the Twitch screen window there by default, when you click the little icon that's down there by looks like a gear, you can actually pop out the chat as a separate window and use it that way. So with this window mode, it's actually very, very simple to set this up. What you can do is when the game loads, you just press Alt Enter on the keyboard, and that will change the game, any of the games that you're playing, into a windowed game. Now, this doesn't work for every situation. If you're playing CSGO or any of these kinds of games, you ideally need this to be a full screen thing. So I don't recommend it for that. I would recommend a second monitor for that kind of setup. But for this, games that are very, a lot more casual, maybe like GTA or City Skylines or Minecraft or any games like that, this setup will work just fine. I play Don't Starve like this when I stream it, and it works great. You have to obviously be aware that when your mouse goes out, if you click, you will deactivate the window and no longer be controlling. However, you will get I wouldn't say the best results, but the best results you can get from a single monitor setup, because that way when you're in OBS, you can set up a windowed mode or a game capture mode, so your audience won't see this whole setup. They will just see the game. And the reason you need to use one or the other is sometimes the games don't pick up on a game capture, they just don't work for whatever reason in OBS. I use OBS because it's free, that's the only reason why. I find I have a lot of control over that. But then you can just use a windowed mode. But what I do is I have overlays on my screen. So I create like a little sandwich where I have the game footage at the bottom, and then I have like a bordered window that sits on top of that. So if I have a windowed mode such as this, as you can see with the City Skylines, if I have that border visible, if I have to do it that way, then it's hidden underneath the overlay. You won't really get that because the window mode allows you to select a region inside that window, so you should never really see these outlying information such as the minimize and close options. So more often than not, the game is going to default to whatever resolution your monitor is. That might be 1920 by 1080, it might be 2.5K, it might be 4K. So if you have my monitor is a 27-inch, but it's 1080, and I think it works just fine. If you have a 2.5K monitor, however, you can still play the game at 1080 and you will still have all this extra screen real estate that you can use, which is great. So, if you're still going to go with the one monitor setup, I would go with a 2.5K monitor instead, if this is the way you want to go. But for me, this is fine, and when you're streaming, you don't really have to stream it at full 1080 60 frames a second. It's just you need a ridiculous internet quality to do that, and most people won't have that. My upload is only 2 megabits or megabytes a second, so it's not exactly the best. So I stream at 480p. So me playing at 720, it's still being downscaled to that resolution, so it looks cleaner, and it's all about the bit rate. So as long as your bit rate is correct, you'll be absolutely fine. So the way that you, like I said, the way that you do this is you load up the game, you press Alt Enter. That will turn the game into windowed mode. You can rescale it, you can reposition it, you can pop out your Twitch chat, so you have it on the side, and that way, when you, instead of having the 2 monitors as well, it's all in front of you. You're not looking away, you're not having to be distracted. You can continue with the game and just change your vision slightly to see what people are saying and keeping it in front of you at all times. So as I said, my suggestions would be, at minimum, if you can, get a 27-inch monitor, at least at 1080p. If you need to do stream it, if you can play it at 720p, then that's going to be fine. That's also going to help with the processing or the CPU intensiveness of streaming, because you're going to be playing the game on the same PC that you're going to be streaming from. So that's going to create, it's going to be very intensive on your graphics card, very intensive on your processor. So this will actually alleviate some of that problem, because you're working with a lower resolution and you can do the task at once. It also means you could probably do it on a lower spec PC. I have an i7 quad core with a GTX 660 graphics card that's 2 gig, not the high-end card that I should have, but it works completely fine for what I need it to do, and it will play most games at a solid 30 frames a second. Maybe not like Counter-Strike or any games that require 60 frames a second kind of thing. I don't think my PC is up to spec for that, but for general games that I do play, it works very, very well and allows me to stream a smooth 30 frames a second to the audience. You don't need a webcam, but that is optional. I bought the Logitech C615. I didn't get the 920, but they're around about the same price. You're going to look at like $80 to $90 for that, so if you want to invest in that, you can do, but it's optional. Audience tends to respond more to a webcam, but if you have, if you're on a laptop and it has one built in, that will work totally fine. Every other streamer as well would say about microphones, you don't need a great microphone. You don't. You could buy a headset with a built-in microphone and that would be completely fine. Or you can buy the microphone I have, which is the Samsung Go mic, and that's about between $30 to $50 depending on where you get it from. I bought it in England, so it was around 20 to 30 pounds. It works fine. I record a bunch of tutorials for it. I stream with it right now, and the audio quality is pretty damn good, considering it's a tiny little microphone with just a cable that goes in. It's all USB powered as well. Keyboard and mouse is just a basic keyboard and mouse. My speakers are just a 2-speaker setup with a subwoofer that has the volume control here, and that's where I plug my headphones into, and that's how I monitor that. Sometimes I don't even use the headphones, I just turn the volume really low so that I don't really hear the game, but it still comes through for the audience. So this works, this setup will work. You don't need a super high-end, top-of-the-range PC with a high-end graphics card. The OBS in streaming is very CPU intensive, but I found that I've tried it on a dual-core i7, and it uses around 20% of the CPU on that when you're streaming the game, so it's not really super intensive. So if you're working with an i5 or an i7 quad core, you're going to be able to do this absolutely no problem. The graphics card will be more specific on how smooth you run the game. The better you can run the game, the better the stream will be, because if it's taking that and stripping away information, the more information it has to begin with, the better the final result will be. So yeah, this is how I have my setup going. If you want to learn about OBS, I can do a tutorial about that, but there are many out there. But I may do one just to kind of keep this as a continuity thing that you have as a reference from myself. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found this useful. I hope it gave you some ideas on how you can stream with a 1 monitor setup, because if you can play a game, you can stream the game. So you don't need a fancy setup, you don't need a second monitor, you don't need a top-of-the-line microphone or webcam. You can use whatever is available to you in stream. I've been doing it for 2 months now, and it works completely fine. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you want to check out any of my other videos, my gameplays, my Twitch streams, please have a look around my channel and let me know what you think. Thank you.